Hi, my name is Glory. I'm a third year student studying at the Bartlett School of Architecture in London, originally from Hong Kong.
And I'm Yan Shan. I'm a third year architecture student studying at the Bartlett as well, and I'm originally from Malaysia.
You're listening to Designing Thoughts with the Archigals, a podcast where we talk about working and creativity, living well, the human condition with relationships, and life experiences.
Before we get into the podcast, I would just like to ask for a small favor. It would mean a lot to us if you could leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or leave a comment on our YouTube channel just to let us know how you feel about the podcast and other topics you'd be interested in hearing in.
Hi everyone, welcome back to our podcast. I'm your host Gloria and this is your co-host Yan Shan. So today, after our weekly check-in, we're going to do a topic on time management, toxic productivity, and also procrastination, which I assume is very relevant to like all students studying and maybe just people working in general. So weekly check-in because we didn't record an episode last week because of submissions. So we were just quite busy with doing work for submission and presentation. So Yanshan, how was your 2 weeks?
Oh yeah, obviously it was very busy because I had my presentation was in the forest. I don't know whether I've talked about this before, but it was in the forest.
Your site.
Yeah, at my site, and it's like pretty far. And then we had an overnight camp and a fire and stuff, and it was actually really
So
nice.
cool.
But I was also I was just so exhausted afterwards.
Mm.
And then we submitted a week and a bit later, and then that was also quite intense because I'm very last minute, and I pulled like a semi all-nighter, but not like a
Yeah.
full all-nighter, so that's fine. And then but it wasn't too bad, like it's not the worst. Then we submitted, and then there's like 3 days of just like sleeping and
Mm-hmm.
reading, lying in bed and watching movies, and that was so nice. And then
Mm-hmm.
back to work again, I guess.
Yeah, same for me. Actually, no, not entirely the same. I didn't have that site crit, which is actually really cool because I saw that you're on your social media that you posted like the campfire and everything. It looks so nice. But I know it's also really exhausting for you because you had to like showcase your project there and stuff. But for me, we submitted on the 6th of December on Monday, like 10 a.m. Well, that was the submission deadline officially. And I just remember on Sunday going into studio and like visiting you, doing your work. It was really nice. And then going into student center with you and then just like seeing you do work. Okay, that doesn't sound very nice as a friend. I just see you like working really hard, you know, and seeing people also in my studio working really hard for the submission. I think I'm just a bit different because I think I like over planned everything. So I guess I'm on the opposite of the spectrum where like I kind of finished everything on Saturday. So Sunday was almost like my rest day. Like, I don't know if this is a flex or not, but I was kind of a bit worried or like I got really anxious because I didn't have things to do when everyone else was like working so hard for the submission. And I was like, okay, I'm finished. Like even my tutors were like, Glory, you're finished. Like this is your project's done. And I was like, okay, great. So then I didn't know what to do, you know? Like you had that as well, right? Like after you submit, we were both like,
Yeah.
oh my God, what do we do with our life?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, and then I submitted. But it was still nice to go into studio on Sunday, despite like I didn't really need to do much. So I just worked on history and then helped our friend with his installation project, talk to people about submission. And then I saw you guys at the student center and then like cheered you guys on for like pulling a semi all-nighter. But yeah, it was nice to like, you know, see everyone working so hard together. It was like good vibes, you know? And then after that, yeah, like you said, it was like chill day. So I spent a few days doing all of the errands that like I haven't done because of like submission.
Yeah.
So, like, I returned my books. Yeah, like you, right? I returned my books. I got like a library card, went to the British Library, and then like just did lots of errands, like return clothes and like parcels, that kind of thing. And it felt very productive. Like even though it wasn't school stuff, it was still really nice. And then I went on a like day trip with my sister to Birmingham. So it was like really nice, you know, chill vibes until my tutor sent another message that we have to do work for next week's crit. So have to do work again. But it was a nice few chill days.
But I think it's pretty chill. Even then, like the deadlines next week are okay. Actually, not really. We have quite a big history deadline as well. Like because we have to think about what we have to write for our dissertation.
Yeah.
But I was thinking about it. Like this is actually the last week of grind before we are off
we
for
only have
so
1
long.
week left. I know. It's crazy that like the terms just passed, you know? My goodness. And the other thing is we did our presentation. So after we do our submission, we also have presentation, which is essentially you present your project to a panel of like staff, and then you spend 10 minutes going through what you've done for the term for your project one, and then they will ask you any questions if you have that. So I had mine on Friday, and Yan Shan had hers on Tuesday, and it was pretty nice, like, yeah. And it was, you just talk about your work, and then that's it. I mean, and then the tutors, I guess they kind of like talk about it and judge your work after that. But it was quite nice. I actually feel more bad for the tutors because they have to sit all the way from like 8:30 in the morning to 8:30 at night. That's like 12 hours of
it's really long.
sitting time and listening to projects. So yeah, kudos to them.
Yeah.
How did your presentation go?
I think it was fine. I think I think that's what everyone says. It was just fine. Like it's hard to be good or bad because it's not in person either.
Yeah, and they don't really give you feedback, so it's just fine, like done and dusted, like project one's finally over. And it was very nice this week also because both our units had a gathering for like Christmas, because it was like kind of last week, so we just spent time together.
Yeah, I think a lot of units had that. I don't say I think it's just near Christmas season, lots of people are having like the last get together before everyone like disperses for Christmas, and I really really like the festive vibes. Although
I know.
Yeah, I think the last few weeks have been actually kind of fun.
Yeah, same. It's just so nice, like the Christmassy vibes. Like I never realized how much decoration can like bring up the vibes, because back at home, like our family doesn't really celebrate Christmas, so we don't have that much decorations. But then like seeing like people here actually decorate, I was like, oh my god, so Christmassy, so festive, and it makes me so happy. So yeah, I really like that.
And also I think we're all getting to the point where like you're kind of close to the people in your unit and stuff as well, so it's like you're starting to be more comfortable, and it's nice.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I'm so happy. Yeah, okay, so we can move on to the topic today, which is like time management, productivity, toxic productivity, and procrastination. So I guess we can just start off with like general time management. Like I think we talked about this like few bits and pieces in like previous episodes with like how to schedule our day, but like we can kind of go more in depth. Like I guess Yan Shan could go first. We kind of established the fact that like I'm definitely a planner and you're kind of like spontaneous type of person. So how do you approach it?
So how I structure my time. Okay, I don't really structure it, but it's like I think I structure it in terms of what I have to do today. So it's not really like do a to-do list. Okay, we'll go to that later, but it's like I timetable based on things that like I have to do today. So like obviously if you plan a lunch or dinner, or if you have to be somewhere at a certain time, then that's like fixed. But then I feel like a lot of other things that I want to do in the day I just like move around depending on what I feel like doing at the time, which is quite bad. But then again, I like that it's not so structured, because then I feel like I know what I want to get done. I just don't know when I want to do it, and I don't feel like I'm trapped in my timetable. If I over timetable, I'll schedule myself, then I get tired and I don't feel like doing it anymore. But I think I plan on like a daily. But I think it's also I have like a planner which plans what like the important things I have to do for like the week. Like even it goes all the way to like the month actually. So it's like the important things for that month are in it. So I know that like on a certain day what I have to do. So I feel like I don't really like, even though I don't timetable much, I also don't really miss many appointments or like forget things because I do write them down.
Is your planner like an actual book, or is it like the piece of paper you showed me?
It's the piece of paper. But it's a calendar. It has all the days on it.
Yeah, Shan drew a calendar on a piece of paper. It's very organized. I looked at the calendar. But no, I think some of my friends do that too. Like she takes a piece of paper and just writes it. Actually, my mom does that too. She just has like a list of stuff and then she just ticks them off. But I guess that makes sense. Like if you revolve your day around like that one event, but then what if you don't have any events that day? Then do you just like kind of plan it in the beginning of the day and just like go for it?
But I think I kind of know what I want to achieve that day, whether it's like go to the gym. We were talking about this, like for example, taking going to gym as an example. Like I don't like to know what time I have to go. I just like to use it as a break for my day. Like if I'm tired of working, then I go to the gym, then I come back and continue working.
Okay. All right. I mean, if it works for you, right? So that's fine. Yeah. So that's Yanshan's approach, and I'm definitely like on the planning side because I feel like I need a sense of security. Like I feel like if I don't have that kind of schedule or structure, I feel very like unsafe, or like I get very anxious, like I don't know what to do. Like the thing is, the weird thing about me is like the more anxious I am, the more I write down what I have to do. You know, like over the weekend, especially like on Friday, when like errands start pouring in and I start getting really anxious, especially with the presentation coming up, I would just write lists of things I have to do. And then I would be like, okay, morning, go to gym. And then after that, go here. And then after that, do that, do that, do that.
But doesn't
So I
it
have like a
stress you
list.
out if you...
No, it doesn't, because
Okay.
I write it and then it's there. I
Yeah.
follow it. And then I won't forget anything. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? But this is like when I'm ultra stressed. But if I'm like normal, then yes, I have a planner, which is like the actual book. Actually, I have it here. This is like the current planner, like the one that I use. And then I do like I guess it's bullet journaling, but also a planner. So like I have future logs, so like the next few months of things that are gonna come up, and then also a whole monthly calendar of things that will come up, and then a weekly spread to like look at events happening through the week. But like daily wise, I feel like it's kind of the same for you. Like I have like the kind of like essentials that I have to get done that day, like gym, and then like morning routine stuff, and then going to the studio, and then like errands I have to run. But then like in the morning I would like always follow the same timetable schedule, because I feel like I really strive on like following the same structure every day. I don't like changing it every day, because that makes me like very, I don't know, I just don't like changing it. So every morning I try to wake up at like 6:40 and then go to gym, and then come back and then stay at gym from 7:30 around to like 8:15, and then come home. And then I would leave home between like 9 to 9:30, and then go to like studio, start working at 10. And then that would be like my main chunk of working time all the way until like 6 to 7 something, and then come home. And then the rest of the evening would be like my chill time, and I can do whatever I want. Then that there's no like time frame or timetabling there. So that would be like my base schedule. And then again, like you say, if anything changes, like if I have an event at night or like lunch or something in the afternoon, then like that schedule adapts according to what I have to do that day. But yeah, it's the same. I think it's just I think the similarity for both of us is like we have the essentials we want to do that day, but then for me I follow like a base schedule, and then for you it's like the essential items, but like they can be rearranged.
Also because I think I don't like following it exactly. Like as in I don't like every day to be the same. I think you don't mind that. So like leading on to the next thing, like I don't really like, even if I do make a schedule, like sometimes when I'm ultra stressed or so, or if I really have a lot to do that day and it involves a lot of logistics, like moving around from place to place, then I would make like sometimes even like hourly, like every like 2 hour chunk of like schedule for the day, but I also don't really stick to it. But it's just nice to write it down so that I know what I have to do that day, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's just the process of like writing it down and knowing what you have to do is like a good thing. Like the timings doesn't necessarily have to follow.
Yeah.
Like I know you don't really like sticking to it. Like I try to stick to it, but then sometimes like depending on the workload I have and like the mood I have, I can obviously be flexible sometimes. Like I'll be like, okay, I can do this like this time instead of that time. Like it doesn't have to be like fully fixed, you know, like I can still be flexible. But just probably not with like spontaneous like events happening. Like I guess it all depends on my mood, you know, and like my energy levels. But yeah, it's fine. Another point I wanted to make is like, you know, bullet journaling, like with the overview of things. Like I think for me it's just like a sense of security of what's going to happen in the future. But the other good thing about it is like, because I'm a really sentimental person, like as you know, I can also like journal lots of thoughts and like feelings of my day into it. So like when I look back, I'll be like, okay, this event happened and these are like my feelings for that day. And it's really nice to look back at it. Also like tracking habits and like moods are like quite useful to see like progress or like how you're feeling, you know. Like obviously it takes a lot of effort. Like if you actually see the value in it, then like actually do it, especially because you know when you like Google bullet journaling, all of them are like super pretty spreads and stuff, and then that intimidates people to like not do it. But then my spreads are pretty minimal, so it doesn't take that much time to set up. So I find it pretty manageable, but depends on the person.
Yeah,
you know?
I think bullet journaling, like and even like really strict like planning out the days. I used to do that when I was in quarantine because I think I was very bored. And also like I need things to look forward to. I think even now I need things to look forward to, like at the end of the week or at the
Mm,
end of the day. So I like when like I plan dinners or parties and stuff in advance,
mm.
because then I can put it into my planner. Then I feel like this is like my reward for the week or something. And that's really
Yeah,
nice. But I feel
yeah, I
like
get
bullet
that.
journaling is only something that I do when I am
Alone.
bored. But when there's lots of things happening, it's like I don't feel the need to. But I think it's good. Like even when I used to track my mood, it was actually really interesting to like see
Yeah.
how it used to like fluctuate.
Yeah, but I definitely get that, like having the events as like a reward for like working really hard in the studio and stuff. Like I get that, and also like when so many things are happening, like you kind of fall off track with like tracking and like writing your feelings, because it's like it's not like an urgent thing, right?
Mm.
So sometimes, yeah, I don't write for like a couple of days, like feelings, and then I look back and then like I track it. So it's fine. Like it's not like a very like high importance thing. It just depends on how much value you get from it. So it's not like a really important thing. But for me, I really like it. I've been doing it for like 4 years, I think. Like this is my 5th year of doing it, I think. Like I've been doing it since year 12. So like when you look back at like past entries, you kind of see how you like grew as a person.
Centuries. Oh, entries. Entries.
Entries. Yeah, and then you see how like you grew and like the things you tracked back then and your feelings and stuff. So it's like quite interesting to look back. Especially the parts where like you journal your feelings. It's like kind of interesting to
Yeah.
see like how you kind of overcame like
Be-
negative
because like you
feelings
only
and
journal
stuff.
if you're, well, for me at least, if I'm like very sad or very happy, like if it's two extremes.
Yeah,
So it's quite
yeah,
interesting to see like that at that point you felt that way. And also because in hindsight you think like it wasn't that bad, or I wasn't that happy, but then I don't know, like sometimes it's good to be reminded that like
yeah. Definitely, definitely. Like the journals would be when you're feeling more like emotionally like stronger. But like that's what I mean. Like in the weekly events, I would add like a few lines of like how I felt or like what happened that day. So those small parts are also really nice to read. But yeah, and then this kind of also move on to like the next part of like to-do lists, like you talked about, like planning your day and knowing the essentials. So like, do you write to-do lists or
yeah, I
no?
do write to do this, but I feel like how some people like to write to do this to cross them off.
Me,
Oh,
I like
really?
doing
I
that.
don't
I
really
love doing
enjoy
that.
crossing. I think it's fine. Like I just write to do this to know what I have to do, and
Okay.
I don't like refer back to it and tick it when I'm done, which is probably defeats the
What?
purpose of to do list. But I guess it's just to like record what I have to do, then I so that I know.
But okay, for me, I love it. Like I love writing lists because like it just it's like everything I have to do is here. Like this is I have to like achieve these things. I have to do them, and then that kind of like and then that feeling of checking off items on my to-do list, like being the most satisfying feeling ever, is like my motivation to do those things.
Oh,
Like I just love the feeling of like checking things off. Sometimes when I write to-do lists, I'm like, oh, but I also did this extra thing that I didn't write. So then I'll like write that down and then take it off. Because I just like it so much.
okay.
That also goes in my planner, like daily tasks that I have to do, and then I will tick them off as well. So like I have tons of lists in my
Does it
planner.
include
And
things like not just for school, but also like chores?
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I'll be like Saturday, vacuum room, like do laundry, meal prep, that kind of thing, and then I'll like take them off, and then that makes me feel very happy. Do you do that as well? No.
No. Although that day I did write down vacuum because it was just like getting too much laundry.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, but I don't like to write them and then take them off. Like I just write them so that I know what I have to do.
Okay, so then it's kind of like different rankings of like importance
I guess
for your
so.
list.
Or like for example for my project when I had to go install it in the forest, that one I had to write like a really big to-do list. I think it's also because
Mm,
big to-do lists really scare me. So I like it when my to-do list has like very few items. So
mm,
even if I've done something, I don't like to put it on my list
mm.
because then it makes the list
Oh,
longer. So then,
okay.
yeah,
But then it's like when you write it and tick it, it's like, oh my god, I achieved so many things. I don't know.
it's
I think I just feed off the feeling of being productive, which is maybe not that great. But yeah, regarding like the importance ranking, because I feel like you only write lists for like important stuff
yeah,
like your project and stuff. like I don't really rank importance. Like I say, I just know that I have to do them like all within like a time frame. And then like sometimes I schedule the items I have to do based on like the time of the day or the environment, like grocery shopping on the way home or like printing at school. It's like based on like the environment, like timings, and then that forms the list. But then at the same time, it's also like I feel like you shouldn't, like if you really like the feeling of like lists and checking things off, like don't really like waste your time writing lists all the time. So then instead it becomes like getting the feeling of being productive rather than like being productive.
Yeah.
So
I limit myself to
yeah.
write like one list a day, like at the start, and only at the start of the day, unless something big
Oh.
happens in the middle of the day that I forget or something. Like if I forgot something, then I have to add it to the list. But like if I write too many lists, then I just get more confused.
You see, my list is broken up into days.
Oh, okay.
So like in my weekly spread in my planner, it would be like Monday these things, Tuesday these things. So usually it would just be like 2 to 3 or 3 to 4 things
Oh, okay.
that day. So then it won't be as like
Scary.
yeah, it won't be as intimidating. Like I have a weekly list and then like a monthly list and then like the
That
list
is a lot
broken
of
up
lists.
Okay, fine, sorry. Like it sounds really like intimidating, but it's not, because I feel like for me it works because I break it in chunks.
Yeah.
You know? So it works for me.
And I guess once you have the list, then it feeds into your calendar. Like I use my list to write what I have to do in my calendar. If not, I won't really know what to do.
Yeah. It's just, again, it's like just seeing how it fits into like your schedule and stuff. But actually the last point of like just the feeling of being productive is that, I guess that kind of links to the next topic of like toxic productivity.
So this means that like you want to be productive all the time at the expense of other priorities, which are like socializing or like hobbies or friends.
So like those things are, is it like those things are deemed as not productive? So you
Yeah.
don't.
Okay, actually, this is an interesting question. Like, what do you think? Like, what do you feel is not productive? Because sometimes I feel like you actually have a very healthy sense of what is productive or not. So, for example, you think that like cleaning and cooking, meal prepping, or like hanging out with your sister, or like going to the library are all things that are considered productive. Even though I feel like my sense of productivity is more warped in the sense that like sometimes I think that all that's productive is like things that will advance my career or schoolwork, which is grades, and everything else is not productive.
Really? You think that?
I sometimes
I
think
thought
that, but like
Okay.
but I do a lot of the other things. But like I know that it's not like the most I know it's not productive.
I guess it's like productive in a, okay, like let's define what's productive to us,
Yeah.
right? I feel like being productive is like advancing yourself as a person and like your character, and like it helps you develop as a person, or like it just has a positive impact on like yourself, like in any kind of department. Like doesn't have to be like academic. I think most people associate productivity with like academic work and things like
Yeah.
that, but then it's like you can't be fully 100% just working on like schoolwork or like, you know, just career stuff all the time.
Yeah.
So that's just kind of unrealistic. Like you need to schedule time for like other things, and in turn those things balance out those and help you perform better in like your kind of academic work life kind of thing. So then those things would be like productive as well, because you're also strengthening relationship when you hang out with friends. You're kind of, when you go to the gym, that's like making your body more strong and healthy. And then when you go to the library, or like when you read something like just to relax, that's also like strengthening like your hobbies or like your mind, that kind of thing. So then I deem those things as like productive. I'm sure you agree, but then I guess sometimes your mind would be like warped, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a good definition though, that it advances yourself. Because I don't know, I don't know whether it's like an Asian influence,
thing.
but then all that I think is productive is if I can use it to like earn money / be like look better on my CV, so like be like a better person to hire, or like do better in school.
Yeah, I think it's probably definitely like an Asian, like it's part of the Asian culture and influence. So like I totally get that, because I think when I was younger it's like the same, like, oh, study, do well in your test, that kind of thing. But I feel like it's just like as you grow older you just realize that there's other things, and like you're not as one dimensional, right? Like that's kind of the one thing I learned in like counseling. It's like if you just reduce yourself down to like work and like your academic stuff, then you'll be like super one-dimensional. Then there's like really nothing much, you know. If everyone just like works, they might as well just be like robots or something, you know.
Yeah, but then I think that's a good approach, because I feel like sometimes, especially in our school, like being productive means being in studio literally like 9 to 9, and then sitting there and like working on your project, and then like not spending any time to like eat properly, like buying like shitty food, and then not exercising. I don't really get it, but you know.
Yeah. Actually, I feel like the reason, I mean, we bring up toxic productivity, right? Is because I feel like it's also the culture of like architecture school, like probably not only like Bartlett, but like all architecture schools, or maybe just like universities in general. We're just saying architecture school because the course has a reputation of being like, you know, you have to work 24/7, you don't have a life, you know, you pull all-nighters, that kind of thing. So like I think toxic productivity is definitely like a thing in the culture of architecture school, and like working in the studio like 24/7. I feel like some tutors are trying to like dismantle this kind of narrative for like architecture school, but like some just kind of feed into the cycle. So it just depends on like which tutor you have. But yeah, and the same thing with you saying like people just like ignore everything. I feel like it's almost glorified kind of thing. Like it'll be like, yeah, I stayed up until this time, or like, yeah, I didn't have time to eat lunch, that kind of thing. And I'm like, dude, that's nothing to be proud of, you know. Like you're actually just like damaging your body. It's like, yes, maybe at the time that maybe you spend extra time doing work, but then at what cost? Like the deterioration of your body, you know. And yeah, that would be like a long-term thing, like your body, like one night doesn't change anything, but then if you like keep going, then the kind of productivity you have and the outcome of your work would like be cost the expense of your physical health deteriorating and your mental health. And the thing, like I said before, it goes hand in hand, right? Like if you don't have the other part of yourself that's not academia related, then you can't sustain the academic work side of your life. Because if your body's not healthy enough, or you don't get enough sleep, or you know, you don't have the support network to support when you feel stuck or whatever for your academic life, then it will eventually fall apart. It's not like the more time you spend on it, the better it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think definitely. I was gonna say that also another big symptom of having toxic productivity is also not being able to chill or like relax when you are fully relaxing.
Yes.
Because I think all of us feel that, like, or even when I waste time, it actually makes me so angry when I have to waste time. Which I feel like is not good also. Like I can't just like sit down and
switch off.
Yeah, it's not even just switching off. Like also when people like for example, yesterday I had to deliver this package to someone, and then I went all the way there.
Deliver what?
I had to deliver like a package to like someone, because they wanted it. Then I went all the way there, and then they like refused to take it, because they were supposed to bring it back to Malaysia from like a relative, but then like they refused to take it. Then I was just like, you just wasted 2 hours of my time. I'm so confused. And I just got so angry. Like, it actually made me like really boiling mad. So then I feel like that's also not good when it's like I feel that
you could have used that time to do work.
Yeah, but I also feel like it's a bit selfish that I'm so wrapped up in my own needs and like my own, that the way that I use time, that I feel that this person has really affected me. Even though like it shouldn't be that big of a deal. It's like, okay, yeah, I guess it's a missed trip. It's fine.
Yeah, but I totally understand like your anger if like the outcome hasn't been like fulfilled. Then you feel like you just wasted your time. Like I get it, but yeah, I think I would have been like really annoyed as well. Like I'd be like, oh, I could have done work in those 2 hours.
But it makes me like disproportionately annoyed to like the impact. Because what would I really have done in 2 hours? Probably spend 1 hour like fluffing around and 1 hour actually doing something.
Well, at least you acknowledge that part. So yeah, I totally get it. It's like going back to the point of like just like not being able to fully relax. Like I think it's just like a very prominent thing within like our course architecture, probably like with other students as well, like in the hustle culture nowadays. It's like I just want to feel productive all the time, and then like when I relax, it's like you, I feel guilty, and then like I can't fully relax. I'll be like, oh no, like I'm wasting my time. Like could be using this time to like do more work. Why don't you like get up and just do work? You know what I mean? So that's why I feel like nowadays I try to set the boundary by like as soon as I leave studio, work is done.
Yeah.
Like when I get home, I'm not doing any more work. Like it could be other stuff that's not like not necessarily like relaxing stuff, like maybe like editing or like what else? Like home chores, that kind of thing. But like just not design project related, you know?
But I get what you mean though, that like it's nice to have that boundary to shut it off, but it's also nice to just know, I guess, like how to deal with it yourself, like depending on your working style. And also it's nice to have like that boundary between like so nowadays I go into studio more, and it's just nice to like to when I'm in studio I feel like I'm working. Then when I'm at home I used to do this thing where I continued working at home, but then it's not very good because I'm not even being that productive at home. And then it's just better to have like a bit of like a divide, even if it's like
Yeah, exactly.
geographical, and like even like knowing the place, like associating with the place is also quite nice.
Yeah, actually, like, because I've been reading, like, well, I just finished reading Atomic Habits by James Clear. So they were saying that, like, the environment really, like, affects the kind of things you do there. Like, if that space is used for, like, working, then you kind of set the tone that that space is for working. And then at home, that would, like, not be working. You know, like, if your bed is for working and for sleeping, then, like, you kind of get confused. Like, what do I do? That kind of thing. So, for me, at least, I kind of acknowledge the fact that like environment is a huge factor for me and like things I have to do. So I like that boundary kind of thing, and I'm glad it also like works for you.
Ish. Yeah, kind of.
Ish. Yeah. And also, yeah, that kind of also goes with the like this week, right? Like after I submitted, or like actually before I submitted, when I'm fully done, I have that sense of like, what do I do with my life now?
Yeah.
Like I don't know what to do. And I don't know if that's also like a sign of toxic productivity, where you're like so used to like just doing work all the time that like when you actually chill, you're so not used to it. So maybe that's why I got sick. Like my body was so used to all the stress, and then as soon as like the stress disappeared, I just got sick. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that makes sense. I think a lot of people got sick and slept like so long. Like everyone just started sleeping. It was nice though.
Yeah, nice for everyone to like just catch up on sleep, you know. So I guess the next question would be like, how do we kind of combat toxic productivity? We kind of set the environmental, like choose your environments and divide. Yeah. That's a good thing, but then sometimes maybe you don't have the luxury of doing that. Like, you know, people working from home.
Yeah.
So.
Or even now with COVID, like I probably should not go into studio that often.
Yeah.
But I think like maybe schedule like you're right, like scheduling in time to relax where you're allowed to relax. So and also scheduling in time to relax like intentionally. So I feel like I end up spending sometimes I used to spend a lot of time like on Instagram or like scrolling through stuff or like reading the news, or even if I woke up then I would spend a long time in bed, which makes me feel bad because like it's actually a net loss because like it makes me wake up late and I don't really feel like I'm being productive, so it's like quite a bad activity to do. So then it's just like cutting those things out and putting in things which you actually like. So for example, like if I like watching movies, and I used to watch YouTube and stuff on my phone, but then I think what I realize now is that like the experience of like watching it in a cinema or like even watching it with my full attention at home on like a bigger screen is like so much more rewarding, that I should switch to that instead of like spending time like snatching a few moments here and there watching stuff on my phone, because then it enhances the experience and the time is used better.
Yeah, I mean, this kind of leads to like the next point of like procrastination. But I feel like another thing with like toxic productivity is also like the scrolling mindlessly thing. I feel like if you schedule in like activities that you actually like derive pleasure from, like when you take breaks and stuff, then that would be really helpful. And also like just being actually there or like present when you're like taking a break, and like even like, you know, small things like when you have your meals.
Yeah,
I feel like actually eat.
Yeah, that's true.
And not like do work. Yeah, and like not do work while you eat, you know. I really enjoyed like that kind of, if you're really busy, it could just be like a 15-minute window.
Yeah.
But like that 15 minutes would be like a nice holistic 15 minutes, not like rushed and then it's completely like forgotten and like you're like drowning back in work again,
Yeah.
you know?
I think the opposite is also true. Like when you're doing work, then, well, at least for me, like I have to be very conscious of whether I'm actually doing it or whether I'm procrastinating or whether I am like tired or like putting my full attention to it. Then I have to recently I've been realizing that if I'm too tired, it doesn't I don't gain anything from it. I'm just sitting at my computer like scrolling through random like references, which are actually
Mm.
just wasting time. And then I have to like stop and take a break and then come back.
Yeah, because there's so much like tasks that's actually you're just doing it for the sake of like being productive and not really like actual work. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because I remember seeing people they like I see these examples online that people like rearrange their emails to like rank of importance and that makes them feel like productive. And I was like, oh my god, people do that, but apparently they do.
Yeah, so to combat it, I think also a lot of combating toxic productivity is like feeling that you're being productive. So that links to like just not procrastinating and like to actually do things that you're set out to do.
Yeah, I guess that also we can move on to like the topic of like procrastination because it's such a big issue. I guess like people always like, how do I stop procrastinating? Or they'll be like last minute because I procrastinated, that kind of thing. So I guess you can talk about like what is procrastination and like why we procrastinate.
Well, it says that you just unnecessarily delay or postpone something despite knowing there's negative consequences, which I feel like I do quite a lot, TBH. But then also the argument against it is that I feel like in some creative work, like a bit of um some things, especially with creative work, I think like sometimes you think you're procrastinating, but you're also like gathering inspiration
Information.
and like
Mm.
information and then rearranging it in your head. So I think even thinking about it, or like sometimes I think like when I sketch, it feels like procrastination because like nothing
Mm.
is really coming out of it. Like if I'm sketching ideas down, but like
Mm.
it's a really a good way of thinking as well. So I guess it's quite hard to define procrastination, especially if you're like trying to produce something creative.
Mm. I guess the creative work argument like could work, but I don't like fully agree with it because I feel like it could help with like sparking ideas, right? But then I feel like at least for me, like most of my procrastination just comes from like watching random videos or like scrolling mindlessly on Instagram, which is not helpful in like stimulating your mind or
That's
anything.
true.
That's like my form of procrastination because I feel like when I'm like I don't know what to do or I feel like anxious or like I feel like procrastinating, I just like go to Instagram or
Do
like I just go
you?
to like I
Oh,
just scroll. Why?
I
Is it
as in,
weird?
I always thought you didn't. That's all.
Oh,
I mean,
well
no,
now
it,
you
it,
do.
it's not weird. That's definitely normal. Like scrolling YouTube or
Hmm.
scrolling Instagram is like very normal.
Yeah, I feel like I really want to make a habit and just like stop doing that. Like,
Mm.
but it's hard. Like you know when you have time and you don't have it to fill up
Yeah,
the time to
yeah.
do stuff. Which is why now I turn to audiobooks to like I guess make it more productive.
Because I think like my form of procrastination is like even dumber. It's like shopping online, but not even buying anything, just looking
Just window
through
shopping.
what's
Oh,
available.
okay.
Or then like, oh, my favorite activity is also like looking at cinema tickets, like, and then
Oh, okay.
planning the route to go to that cinema and to come back. I don't know why I like doing that. It's just like
Oh, really?
to know like, oh, if I really wanted to watch a movie tonight, then I could watch it here for £3. Blah blah blah. That's so useless.
Okay. Yeah, I guess we have different forms of like procrastination. But yeah, it's just like feel like we need to stop. So hopefully the audiobooks like help. But like recently I've been listening to Audible. This is like a tangent, but it's just been going pretty well. Like I listen to the books and it's going nice. And I'm listening to Becoming by like
Michelle
Michelle
Obama.
Obama. It's like quite basic, I guess, because everyone's reading it. But it's nice, nice book. I'm like halfway through. It's so long. It's like 466 pages and I'm only like halfway. So, anyways, yeah, going back to the topic of procrastination, I feel like like you said, it's like delaying and postponing despite knowing there's negative consequences. And then I got this article from like James Clear, and I thought I broke down procrastination pretty well. Basically, they were saying like it kind of stemmed from like Greek philosophy, like back then in history as well, and it's like basically it's the state of like acting against your better judgment. Like you know you do one thing when you know you should do something else. So like loosely translated, you could say it's like procrastination is like a lack of self-control. So like when you refer it like to procrastination, is basically the force that prevents you from like following through on what you set out to do. And basically behavioral psychology research like revealed a phenomenon called like time inconsistency that helps explain why procrastination seems to pull us in despite our good intention. So it's like the tendency of the human brain to value immediate rewards rather than like future rewards. So like the best way to understand is like you have two selves, right? So your present self and like your future self. So when you set goals for yourself, it would be like, for example, this is the examples you wrote, like losing weight, writing a book, learning a language. You're essentially like making plans for your future self. So you're envisioning what you want your life to look like in the future. So researchers found that like when you think about your future self, it's quite easy for your brain to see the value in taking action,
right,
because it values like long-term rewards. But then because the future self can only set goals, only the present self can take actions. So then when the time comes to make a decision to take an action, it's like no longer a choice for the future self, it's for the present self. So then in the present moment, your brain is like, okay, what should I do now? So then because the present self really likes instant gratification, not long-term payoff, so then there's constantly like this conflict between the two selves. So then like the future self wants to be like, I don't know, fit, and then the present self wants like junk food or something. And then everyone knows you should eat healthy every day to prevent like being unhealthy or like malnourished in like future years. But then the consequence of like increased risk of like diabetes or like heart failure are like years away.
right.
So then you just like, okay, since I have time now, I might as well just like lay it off because like nothing will happen to me at this moment right now.
Okay.
I guess that goes the same for like work. Because like if the deadline is not there, you're like, I have time later.
But then, so what you're saying is that you should always think about things in terms of your future self? Or is it like a balance?
I think it's gonna be a balance, because the thing that like kind of like overcoming like procrastination is like giving yourself rewards like when you do the thing that you procrastinate on. That's kind of like the basic format that James Clear gave, which is like only do insert thing you love when you do the thing you procrastinate on. So it's like you kind of set these rules, like you have to do this and then you get this reward. So it's like you're like satisfying your future self while also like giving rewards to your present self. So like both sides would be like satisfied kind of thing. But then I guess that also takes a level of like self-control to be able to do.
Yeah, and also maybe there's a level of like missing out on life as it goes by. If you're like always thinking about
there's definitely a balance.
Yeah.
Definitely a balance for me. Like, I think in the end, it all boils down to like which part matters to you, right? Because say like if people invite you to go like drinking every night, like I probably wouldn't go every day, say, because it would be kind of
the utility, like the marginal utility goes down. Like every time you go, you just get less. It's like more and more tiring,
less value,
and it's like less value.
Yeah, so I think it just hugely depends on the event. And like I think for me mostly maybe it's gonna be like 80-20, 70-30 like balance. So like I'll be like, okay, so I'll follow my schedule like 70-80% of the time, and then like for like funsies, instant gratification thing, hanging out with friends, I mean it's still like good, like this kind of still builds relationship for the long term. But I guess in some ways maybe that goes against like this kind of like the thing that he's trying to set out to say. So that would be like 20-30%.
Because I guess if you think about like even for both of us, we're talking about how like our happiest moments are not just when we're having fun. It's also when we have been productive that day.
Yeah, we said that. I like the feeling of being productive too. Like I think in some way that's also a reward for your present self.
Yeah.
Like once you complete that task, the kind of feeling of completing that task is almost like an instant gratification to the current self already, knowing that you're helping your future self like do better, that kind of thing. So
it's like it doesn't have to be exclusive to one side, but I guess it's a good way to think about things, especially when you're setting like long-term versus short-term planning. I mean, you're trying to weigh up like the pros and cons of doing something.
And also there's like more tips that James Clear said, and also I kind of agree on. It's like the thing like giving yourself rewards for doing that task And also like finding an accountability buddy if you don't do the things. Like it's more embarrassing. Like if you don't set out to say the things you do, you would
Mm.
kind of thing. Like I guess in studio, that's kind of a thing because everyone around you is doing work. So you're less likely to like procrastinate
Yeah.
because the vibes are like working
Yeah.
kind of thing. So that kind of goes on to the third point of like go to an environment that you know you will like set the tone and like work hard, like working in studio versus like working at home. Like that's really important for me. And then also like making the task like more achievable, like setting visual cues kind of thing. Like that also, I guess that kind of goes not necessarily with like academic work because that one is like, you know, you have to do it.
Right.
But I guess more like smaller tasks like maybe like going exercise, like laying out like your equipment the night before, that kind of thing. And then like what do you call it? Like taking out the vacuum and then knowing you're gonna clean stuff like that. But yeah, I guess it's not that relevant with like the kind of procrastination we're talking about since it's from like major work,
Yeah.
but it works for like smaller
Yeah.
tasks.
But and I think for
Yeah.
me also what works is like I guess like going back to the present and future self is like just knowing that like if you do this, you just be so much happier and it'll literally take 15 minutes and at the end of it you'll just
Yeah.
be so much happier, so just do it.
Yeah, and it's also like you know if you do it, you won't regret it.
Yeah.
So just do
I was
it.
thinking about this like like the rule that I have now is that like if I delay this to do it later, would I be better at it or would it be easier? And then for things like cleaning or cooking, the answer is usually no. So I think for those kind of things, I'm like I'm quite okay about doing it now. But then for things like school, sometimes I'm like maybe I would be better at it if I waited a bit because then I wouldn't have gained more, which is not great.
Well, at least you're like conversing with yourself about it. The other way of thinking about it is like, okay, I think I heard this somewhere, but it's like the 2 minute rule of like, okay, I'll just do this for like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And then if it's like so unbearable, like can't keep doing it, then I'll like stop doing
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Kind of thing. And it's also the thing of like, just doing a little bit is better than like not doing it at all.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
I think the only time where that doesn't really work is like hanging out with other people. At least for me, it's like hanging out with other people. Because sometimes it's like if I spend 2 minutes doing it, then it's like it makes I just end up spending a lot of time doing it. So
yeah.
it's like not very great because that sometimes wastes time. Depending on like the crowd, I have to think like, do I really want like what's the value, what's the goal of this hangout, blah blah blah.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, in summary of like the kind of topics we discussed today, it would be kind of like, you know, basically, I guess in the end, it's like find out what works for you because it also depends on like your kind of like how you work. Like, are you more of a planner or are you like more spontaneous? So like then your planning schedule or like creating a structure for you would like look different. So like say for me, like writing down lists or like planning out my days would be like I like doing that more for a sense of security, whereas like for Yanshan, she might not like it as much because it makes her like tired or feel trapped. And then regarding toxic productivity, like yes, we all have it, but then it's also like just finding ways of like just relax and then like actually being present in the breaks that you take and not like glorifying working so much that you neglect the other half of your life.
Yep.
Not just like academic. And then procrastination, conflict of like two selves, but I mean everyone does it, so it's not like very tiny problems, I guess. But it's nice to kind of just get a balance of like work routine and like taking breaks, and also kind of just giving yourself rewards when you do the thing you procrastinate on, so like both sides of you can be like rewarded. And also I think a really huge important thing that like we also talked about is just like finding an environment that works for you, that you're gonna like work hard in.
Yep.
Like for me, the kind of division between studio and home was really important to me. So yeah, that's it. Do you have anything else to add, Inshan?
Nothing much. I think I there's something else that it's like a extra point. It's just like knowing when you're productive and what works for you as well. Because like sometimes it just like I feel like sometimes I feel pressure to be in studio from 9 to 5, but at the same time I know that like I work better at night. And even though a lot of people say this, I feel like for me it's actually true. So then I know that like I have to schedule my day so that it starts later in the day and then I continue working into the night and I'm actually like more alert at night. So then
Mm,
it's also like experimenting and figuring out what works for you personally to be productive,
yeah.
not just following template, you know?
Yes, I agree. Okay, well, thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode. Bye.
Bye.